Extinction is inevitable for all biological species. In fact, the vast majority of all species that have ever lived are now extinct. So I'm thinking, like, if there's been a bajillion species of all time, most of those are now extinct. Cool. Since all species die out eventually, there is no justification for trying to protect species that are presently endangered, even those that can be saved from extinction now. All right, so Nikki, what's our conclusion?
There is no justification for trying to protect species that are presently endangered.
Like, as I say that, you'll know if they're like flawed or not, because like if they're not flawed, they'll not like, sorry, this is a parallel reasoning question, but this argument is so flawed, right? Does everybody else see it? For those that are familiar with flaws, like there's no justification or no reason to do it. But since it's parallel reasoning, we're just looking at structure. So we want to predict here. So Malika, what is our reasoning structure of how we get to this conclusion?
So we start off with background info that extinction is inevitable, and more info about how all the species that have ever lived are now extinct. And then we have our conclusion, which is then justified and supported with the other statement that even those that can be saved from extinction now, which strengthens our conclusion.
Yeah. So my basic paraphrase phrase here is like, since we can never solve this, we shouldn't even try. I feel like is what our reasoning is here. Is that like right? Like kind of thing. All right, so let's go ahead and go into our answer choices. Let's go ahead and try this one and put your answer in the chat. This isn't a traditional parallel question. It's a little bit unique where it's kind of like making us draw an analogy. And it says the reasoning in the argument is most closely paralleled by the argument that there is no reason to. So as soon as I read this, even though I had already pre-phrased what the structure was in my argument, I made sure I thought about it like there's no reason to. So we're saying like, because it could never, like since it's never been done, we shouldn't even try. It's kind of what I'm looking for here. And so when I went through these answer choices, A says look for a book in the library because it is sometimes checked out. Why didn't you like that one, Sabrina?
I didn't like this one because, well, I mean, sometimes checked out.
Yeah, like there still could be a chance, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like that one either. Like I'm like, well, there could still be a purpose of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why didn't you like E, Iman?
Honestly, I stopped at B.
All right.
Honest, I'm sorry, but
okay.
I liked B so much. I went to C and D. I stuck with B.
You're like, I'm tired. No, okay. So plant a flower garden in soil that is not beneficial to plants because the plants are likely to die in such soil. Like that just makes sense. Like I'm not going to do it if it's going to die. Bad answer. All right, Lauren, why didn't you like D?
I didn't like D because there's just something better that I didn't like. It take the route that will avoid normal traffic jams because traffic jams occur along any route. It doesn't make sense.
Right. And like for our situation, it'll be like we're not going to take a route that will avoid, like you're still doing it, right? So I feel like in our situation, like for it to be correct, you'd be like, so we're going to solve the species that like, or we're going to avoid those that are most likely to become endangered first or something. Like we're not doing it at all. All right. And then Taylor, what about C?
I thought it was wrong just because in our stimulus we talk about how like extinction is inevitable, so it's going to happen regardless, whereas this is talking about earthquakes is really infrequent, so we don't really know when it's going to happen.
Look at you go. Yes. And then who wants to share why B is correct? Atusa, why is B right?
I thought B was right because literally as soon as you finished like talking, I looked at the answer choices and I was like, that's exactly what she just said, basically. So since there's like no reason, or since like you don't see any reason to, I think I'm messing up my words.
No,
now.
you're right. Since it can never be perfect, we might as well not try.
Yeah.
Right? It's like since our car will never last forever, we shouldn't even fix it up or make it last. I'm like, well, maybe you want to make. Why wouldn't you want to? Yeah, so many flaws with this. I feel like there's actually should be a parallel flaw question, not a parallel reasoning question, but whatever. I'm not LSAC, so we'll let it go.